You're listening to the RE Social Podcast with your hosts, Andrew and Vince from AnVi Invest. For more information, go to anviinvest.com.
Okay, so we have our buddy, Eric Lawson here in the podcast room. How are you, Eric?
I'm doing great. Excited to be here with you guys. So we've been had this on our to-do list for a while. So
I know. Welcome to the show, man. Good to have you here. And for people who don't know, can you give us a quick 90-second intro?
90-second intro. So I'm a 23-year mortgage veteran. Over time, that turned into, what am I going to invest in at some point? And I was looking at multifamily properties for a few years. And then I had the idea to try Airbnb because I was staying at those. And being a mortgage guy, I could tell real quick, like if I stayed at a house, what their payment might be on the house. And then what we were paying to be there. And I'm like, this seems like a really good cash flow opportunity. So one of my buddies happened to have a Airbnb like course guy on his podcast a couple years ago, and so he gave me the free logins to this guy's course because it's like, okay, I know how to buy the property, but how do you essentially run a hotel and remotely? Right. So I listened to this guy's online course, and once I listened to it, I was like, oh, this makes sense. I can do this. So I just went and bought the first property. All the numbers were great, and then just kept going.
What year was this?
2020, right?
Wait, so you didn't start in real estate till 2020?
No, I didn't start buying short-term rentals until 2020.
Oh, okay.
I started the mortgage business in 2004.
So did you have any real estate in 2004?
No, I mean, just the house that I lived in. I bought my first house when I was 25, I think in 2006.
Okay, and then you just did the mortgage business and then nothing till 2020?
Yep.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Did you know that?
Nope.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, once I found a concept that worked, it's like just keep going. So I just bought the next one.
So where did you buy it? Give us the details on the first deal.
Okay, so the first deal, I was looking at Scottsdale because that's like one of the first places that I had visited where I was like in a house, and I think we paid like $1,200 for like 3 nights, and the house at the time was probably only worth like $400,000. So I'm like, this guy's payment's probably $2,000 a month, and we just paid him $1,200. So I'm like, it's a light bulb, right? So I went to Scottsdale first. Bought the property for, it's kind of funny. The property was listed for $480. I got in contract at $520. And even the realtor, who was like an old school realtor, like been around forever, they're like, oh, we don't think it'll appraise, so you have to come in, over, you have to come in with the cash difference if it doesn't appraise, right? And at the time it seemed like, I don't know, is this a big buy? Maybe I should go smaller. And got in contract and ended up appraising for $520, which was awesome.
Wow.
And then at the time, I didn't know how to like officially like figure out what Airbnb numbers would be as far as cash flow goes. So I just did like common sense. Like I went on Airbnb, basically just looked up properties in the area, and I took 5 properties in the area and I just added up what their nightly rents were and divided by 5. And I think it gave me like a number of like 280. And then it's funny, later on when I learned about AirDNA, I put the property in there and it said 281. I was like, oh, dang. My little manual calculation worked. But long story short is, based on that, the property was estimated to be about $6,000 a month. And my all-in like cost, including like the pool guy, Netflix, all that stuff was going to be about $3,000 a month. So I'm like, $3,000 a month spread? Hell yeah, let's do this. And then when I actually got the property, it turned out to be around like anywhere from like $8,000 to $12,000 a month. So it was almost like double what I thought it was going to be. So I was like, light bulb, let's do this.
Welcome to the game, right?
Yeah. Next one. And I'm doing all my own loans because I'm a mortgage guy. So like my debt on the properties is really cheap.
So what do you put down, 25?
I think on that property I put down 10%. I could keep doing that, buying them as second homes, but I would put down 20% when I had the cash because I'm just, it's cheaper debt, and I'm not gonna leave the money sitting in the bank. So I could put down 10% on these properties. It depends on if you're buying them as vacation properties or not, but I would put down 20% around there just to get better terms.
Nice.
And I have the money to invest.
So were you cash flowing like day one? You crushed it? Were there some mistakes?
Yeah, so even better. So I came super aggressive when I mean super aggressive is as soon as I got in contract on it, right? So I'm still, 30 days out from closing. I listed it on Airbnb. I just copied the listing over, from the MLS onto Airbnb and made it live. So within like 3 or 4 days,
with like the staging furniture and setup or what?
I literally just copied the pictures off of the listing, right?
Okay, I got
which had furniture because I bought the property fully furnished.
Okay.
But anyway, so by the time I closed on the property, I already had it booked out for the next like 3 months.
Wow.
So before I even made a payment on it, right? And then I timed my mortgage closing so that I wouldn't have a house payment for 2 months. So by the time I made the first mortgage payment on this property, I'd already brought in $12,000.
Got it. Yeah. That's
And my
great.
monthly payment, and remember, my all-in expense for the property is $3,000.
Right.
So it's like,
Wait, $3,000 all expenses?
yeah, like
How was that?
like the mortgage, taxes, home insurance, like utilities, the pool guy, Netflix, like my entire cost to hold the
500.
property.
What?
It's only 500 and it's probably 3% interest.
Oh,
Actually,
yeah.
I have 2.875 on the house.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, got that
because
part.
you're
And
comping
you're
yourself.
pocketing the commission on it and putting that towards income.
No, that's why he's getting the lower interest. He probably
Yeah.
cost
Oh,
himself
Just clearing out
175
the,
bips.
yeah, that's the move.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant, bro.
Yeah, so then it was just, where's the next one? Where's the next one? And
Yeah.
just kept going.
So, okay, so you bought the first one. So how much money did you have in your bank account when you bought it? Like millions of dollars cash?
No, I don't know. I probably had like 100, 200 grand like in savings. Like I've been saving money for a while. And I have some other assets, and I was gonna raise capital and basically start doing multifamily syndication.
Sure.
But that's obviously a lot of work. You got to bring in partners, investors.
Very complicated.
Yeah, and so what I liked about this is I can do it by myself. I don't have to answer to anybody. I don't have investors to deal with. I don't have partners. Obviously, like buying the property and financing the property is easy because that's what I do for a living. So just the entry point was super easy for me to do it by myself.
Nice.
So you're telling us you put in 50 grand all in on the property,
Yeah.
and then you're making 50 grand in returns every year?
Probably more.
So 100% returns on it every year. And it's probably worth twice that now.
Yeah, now it's probably worth around like
800?
850.
Nice.
So yeah, and then on top of that, a lot of people surprisingly aren't aware of this. Like I have investor clients that have like 20, 30 single family residence properties, and they weren't aware that you can do a cost segregation tax deduction on rental properties. I think that started in 2019. I think there was a change in the Trump tax law to where essentially you can take that 3 to 5 year cost segregation tax deduction amount, but you can take it all up front. In the multifamily world, everybody knows about that because it's part of the investment.
Yeah.
So it's like for every property that I buy, essentially I'm getting, what I've seen it to be is about 20, the tax write-off has been about 20% of whatever the purchase price was of the property. So for example, for this house, I bought it for $520. So my tax write-off, my one-time tax write-off from that purchase was about $100,000, which is awesome. So if you add that into your returns, it just makes it.
Yeah, so he went real fast. I'm going to
Extremely
break it down
profitable.
Break it
for
down.
all the lay people who are listening. So what Eric is talking about is one of the things that so the cost segregation studies have always existed, but the Trump had this Jobs and Tax Cuts Act in 2017 when he came in, right? And then what he did was he said, "Hey, it used to be you can only do it for new properties. I don't know if you knew that." He said, "Pocket, anybody can do it. If you buy a 1920s hotel, you're cost segging it now." And then on top of that, what he did was, so when we do a regular depreciation, it takes it over 27 and a half years or 39 based on commercial residential, right? So, and then, but that's a straight line depreciation. But you could say, hey, I have carpet and table and furniture and chair, and you can do a 5, 15, and a 7-year depreciation. And then what Eric was talking about is a bonus depreciation. And then Trump said you can take all of it as a bonus on the first year. So I'll close a property, I do it every year, on December 31st. And then I'll have it ready to rent, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm taking $100,000 tax write-off for putting down, like for owning the property for 2 hours.
Awesome.
Yep.
So we could do that. So that's one. So it's slowly been going from 100 to 80 to 60% of bonus first year, and then you can take the rest over the period of years. But it's already passed the Senate. He's probably going to bring it back again as 100.
Yeah.
Nice. Do you think he's going to adjust it again? Now that
It's
he's
already
back?
in the Senate. Already approved it. It's going to come back for sure.
Nice. Wait, so it was unapproved when Biden got in? Or
No,
he got rid of
it's not. It wasn't unapproved. So how the tax laws usually work is you have a time period, and it slowly will go away unless you do something about it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So his is going away end of this year.
Got it.
But he came
he's
back.
He's going to renew it. Yeah,
so
yeah,
he's going to do
just
it again.
in time.
Yeah, he's talking about even lowering corporate taxes, C corp to even 15 if you make things in the
Wow.
U.S. So people usually blame like, oh, you don't want to keep reducing taxes for rich people. Well, if you don't reduce the taxes, they're going to go build in India and Vietnam.
right.
You just lost all of it, right? So now he's going to say if you bring everything onshore, he's going to give Apple a break for 15. So Apple's
Yeah.
like, oh, sure, I'll
I
probably
love
do
that.
that.
This
So
has been long
that's
needed,
what
in
he's
my
doing.
opinion.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's go back to what you were talking about. So you bought the first property, March of 2020?
Yeah, March of 2020, and that's like when the first lockdowns were happening, and there's all this drama about the market's going to crash, forbearance.
Oh, you bought
agreements
March
and-
2020. Like
Yeah,
day one, essentially, of what we thought was the apocalypse.
Yeah.
What a ballsy dude.
So we usually talk about mindset. You want to ask him about the mindset of how if everybody's like running the other way, right?
Everyone's literally probably saying, don't do it, running for the hills. And you're like, cool, March, let's go.
Yeah.
Of course, you'd already probably been researching and made some offers before.
Yeah, well, first off, what the biggest concern was, well, as far as like the media goes, or just like the narrative was, our home price is going to crash.
Right.
And real quick, I'm looking at this going, I don't care if the property value goes up or down. I'm not buying the property for
cash
value.
flow.
I'm looking for cash flow.
Yeah.
So if I buy this property for $500,000 and it drops down to $400,000, I don't care, because the short-term rental demand, people traveling to Scottsdale, that's a completely different market. People are going to continue to do that. Also, the price point to where the house is, it's like, okay, what if a bunch of people lose their jobs? Well, if someone's paying, I don't know, if someone goes out to Scottsdale to stay at my house, they're probably going to spend $1,200 for the weekend. They have a flight, they have airfare, they're going there to do something, so they're going to spend money. So like my potential clientele, like they have money to spend. And typically, like, those aren't the people that lose their jobs in a recession anyways.
Sure.
Typically in a recession, most of the jobs that are lost are basically not qualified home buyers, which is like not necessarily lower income, but it's like service workers, waiters, bartenders, hairstylists, like things like that. So I know all this data to be true because obviously I have to follow that for my mortgage industry.
Right.
So for me, it's like, well, first off, I didn't believe any of that to be true because I have clients out there like, writing offers on properties like every day. Like I have clients that are getting in contract, they're calling to get pre-approved. So I'm like boots on the ground. So I see the actual activity that's going on. So that gives me kind of a unique perspective to not worry about like, or are market values going to come down? Is real estate going to collapse? Like, I don't want to say that's all bullshit, but like from what I know, from the stats that I know, and also being in the game, it's like there's, for me, it's like that's not going to happen for lots of reasons we could get into. So yeah, so I went into it completely confident. None of that was ever a factor.
How did the lockdown affect you? Because we couldn't rent anything or have people travel for a little bit, right? In 2020?
No. So
it was a red state. It's just like, we don't care.
What month did I close on this property? Basically, like I said, like as soon as I got in contract, I listed it, and it's been booked ever since.
That's awesome.
Because they shut down some of our stuff, right? Like they were like, no bookings, nothing.
You could still fly. You mean did like Airbnb shutting it down?
Yeah, they were saying no more bookings for a little bit. And
I don't recall that.
we didn't have Airbnbs in 2020. We only started in 2022.
Right.
But
what were they? What was?
we couldn't travel. We had to wait till 2021 to go to Hawaii for your birthday. Remember?
We didn't have to wait, but it would have been
What
harder
do you mean?
to
We
go
couldn't
before.
go. They were waiting for the vaccine to like.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Hawaii is a
from-
unique case because they're an island.
Yeah.
So there was no problem for you in Scottsdale.
No problems
Okay,
like that.
awesome.
Like the only complaints that I really heard was that, people could just say, oh, I have COVID, and then Airbnb would just refund them their money.
Yeah.
And so it's like, hey, you just kind of screwed my calendar because I can't replace those dates yet. So I personally didn't really have many of those problems. But that was kind of like the industry as a whole, like that was a bit of a factor of how Airbnb was treating the hosts.
Yeah.
But for me, everything went fine. And then I traveled a lot during that entire lockdown period because I just kept buying properties. So I was, I'd be home for a few months, like working, and then I'd get in contract on a property, and then I would go stay at the property for like a few weeks to get it set up. So like I'm working remote, flying back and forth, and just none of the travel restrictions ever really were an issue for me. Also, Arizona is a very open state.
Right. Very like lenient in terms of like let the economy be.
Yeah,
the
like I
economy.
remember, they never really locked down. I don't know if they locked down at all completely, but like for example, when I was like in Northern California, it's like you have to sit outside with a mask on at 25% capacity outside, and they're checking a Vax card. So it's like, Then I fly to Arizona the next day because I have to go like see my property, and like I remember I get there and I go downtown to go to dinner. And there's like one of those bachelorette like pedal bikes going by.
You're like
just 20 girls just chugging beers, like no masks anywhere. And I just came from you have to sit outside with the mask and show a Vax card.
You're like in the Twilight Zone. You're like, what is happening?
I'm like, this is different.
Yeah.
So look, fortunate for me. So none of that was ever an issue.
Okay, so you bought the first property.
And actually, there's a flip side of that is that you've heard the concept revenge travel.
No, what's that?
So revenge travel is basically like once kind of the lockdowns got lifted, everybody like didn't do anything for a year or two. Everybody traveled a ton. So like so Airbnb
as we did.
So Airbnb bookings and like revenue for hosts like went up super high. I think in 2022. And then what was funny is that after that, the headlines always skew statistics.
Sure.
So there's all these headlines about, Airbnb bust, blah, 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 blah. And of course, I have lots of people asking me questions about that. Well, how are your properties doing? Well, my property's doing fine. And then some of the data sources that I follow points out that like they're comparing whatever the drop is, they're comparing that to like a super profitable year because of revenge travel. So like, yeah, like maybe it dropped 20%, but 20% from what? 20% from the highest levels ever. So 20% below that was still like, you're still doing great.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah. So
no problems.
So kind of the flip side of what we were just talking about with was COVID a problem? Like, well, it actually created like some very profitable years after that.
Nice.
From revenge travel.
But guys, for people who are listening, Eric is doing a very interesting point out. Eric is locked in at 2.85% for 30 years, and he bought it for $450. His property is $1 million now, and 8% you will die right now if you buy that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't die, but it wouldn't be as profitable.
Yeah.
There's still opportunities out there. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, because again, like I have a lot of friends that have come to me and they've wanted to buy properties, and I've helped them do it. And so, like whether your rate is 5% or 8%, I mean, like for a $700,000 house, that difference of like 2 or 3% rate, I mean, you could call it like $300, $400, $500, $600, even $700. If that's going to break your investment, I don't think it's a good investment. Because I'm not going to buy a property unless my spread's a couple $1,000s a month. That's the whole point of a short-term rental, right? That's why you're doing all the extra work, right? Because of people that don't have short-term rental properties out there, you wouldn't know this, but you're basically running a hotel. It's not a traditional rental property where you have one tenant who's there for 6 months or for a year and then turn it over. You have people coming and going every 3 or 4 days. So you're running a business. You're running a hotel. It's different. That's also why the cash flow is so high.
Right.
And I think it's pretty easy to find properties pretty much anywhere that will have really high cash flow. Not everywhere, but I think it's pretty easy to find it because essentially like the concept works. The concept works is that people expect to be able to stay in houses now when they travel. So it's like short-term rentals or Airbnbs. It's not, people think it's got to be like a vacation place. It doesn't have to be. It's an alternative to lodging. It's an alternative to hotels. And I also know that to be true because I own a property up in Northern California where there's absolutely nothing there. There's nothing there. It's Concord, California. There's nothing there touristy whatsoever. And I converted that to a short-term rental only because I already owned the property and I had it as a long-term rental. And even though like when I ran the numbers, like with AirDNA and it was telling me like the cash flow I'd get on it, like I didn't even believe it at first.
Because it was that good?
No, it's because like there's nothing in Concord. Like why would it? Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it was so good. You were like,
the numbers were so good. I was like, who wants to go to Concord? Yeah. And so I had this really good idea is that when I was turning over my tenants and I was considering turning it into a short-term rental, and then AirDNA gave me numbers that were worthwhile, but I'm like, oh, like I'm gonna have to kick out tenants. I'm gonna have to remodel the house. I'm gonna have to fully furnish it. Like that's gonna take time. All that, that's a big, investment for it maybe to not work out. So it just turned out that the house next to mine, which is a model match, was up for sale. So remember I copied over my first property onto the first Arizona property. I copied it over.
You took the
I was
same
like,
pictures?
light bulb. So I copied that listing over to Airbnb, but I just made it so you couldn't actually book it, but people can send me requests, right? So I have a live booking now. It looks just like my house. And
you're doing data research at this point.
Yeah.
Is there demand?
Well, this is real, right? When someone clicks the I want to rent button, like that's a sale. That's a real number,
That's
right?
brilliant.
So I think within like 6 days, I had requests for the next 8 weeks booked out for like $8,000. And I was like, it's real.
Let's do the deal.
So I kicked the tenants out, remodeled the house, and like every
brilliant.
And like every remodel that you guys know, sure enough, turned out to be like double what I thought it was going to be.
Always.
Right. But it's worked out. But that's a good example of where people go, when I tell people about Concord, like, what, that your property does good in Concord? I'm like, yeah, the occupancy is like 80, 90%. And it's actually less maintenance because it's not a party place. So I'm getting like families and remote workers and things like that. And at the end of the day, when people are kind of surprised to hear that, I go, well, think about it. I go, it's a huge city. There's hundreds of thousands of residents. Like there's hotels and there's houses. And there's anywhere where there's a population, right? There's going to be a demand.
Yep.
And that rings true. And then on top of that, just through through my clients, I have some other clients that have properties like in like very like low income, high crime areas, like next to that city that I know very well because I grew up in that area, where you would never think, to buy an Airbnb property because they're bad areas. And these people didn't buy properties there to be short-term rentals, but because they already had them, they converted them over and they do great.
Wow.
So that's the ultimate testament of like, wherever there's a population, there's going to be demand for short-term rentals. And that's why I'm kind of circling back to like the concept works. So in my opinion, it's not hard to find a property that's going to have a nice spread of like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month, like whatever's going to be worthwhile to you. And my whole point to that to go back is like, whether your rate's 5%, 6%, 7%, 8%, like that's going to be the difference of a couple $100s a month for most price ranges. And if you're Airbnb, if that's going to kill your investment, then I don't think it's a good investment anyways.
Yeah, I agree.
So to me, like the rate, it's a bonus that I can get these low rates on my own properties, but for everybody else out there that, doesn't do mortgages for themselves, like it's not a make or break factor.
Right.
So it just means, hey, if your spread on the property is $1,000 a month and you like that, but now it's going to be $500 a month because rates are high, then I think you should not buy that property.
Yeah.
Go buy a property where the spread's bigger.
I agree.
So
nice. And so you've got how many Airbnbs now?
So I have 6 of them now, plus my primary home. They're all like 4-bedroom properties. If it's in a place like Arizona, it's going to have a pool. If it's in a place in Tahoe, it's going to have like a hot tub.
Nice.
That I like that demographic because for a 4-bedroom house like can fit a family, and that's typically what you get with Airbnbs, right? Because a family doesn't want to stay in a hotel. So I think that's where like the sweet spot is for demand, and then also like the price point is somewhat reasonable versus like if you're going to go buy like some, I don't know, like an 8-bedroom mansion somewhere. I mean, you could do that, but that's kind of a different conversation.
Right. And do you ever have like parties since you got like a jacuzzi and stuff? Like, is that ever been an issue?
So the other question is, is horror stories. Zero horror stories.
Way.
And I think on Airbnb right now, I have 760 reviews. And not everybody leaves a review. So that means I literally have had like, I don't know, probably 1,000 bookings across six properties across 3 states. Out of all of that, right? And 4 of those properties, 2 are in Tahoe, 2 are in Scottsdale, party places, right? No horror stories whatsoever. Maybe somebody like throws up on a bedding.
Sure.
Cool, no problem. Like we replace it, charge them. It's kind of funny actually. If somebody goes and like breaks something, it's like, okay, cool. We just charge it back to the guest. Plus we throw like a fine on there because you can just make up a fine and Airbnb will charge it. I'll throw a fine on there and then, you charge back the invoice for your handyman. And so it's like, I'll profit like $250 if you break something on my property because I'm going to fine you and then I'm going to charge you back what the cost is. And then Airbnb has it's either $2 or $3 million policy, insurance policy for every booking, as you guys know. So let's say that person canceled their credit card, Airbnb will pay me out.
Right.
And I've had this happen before. Like one time I had a guest one time that was staying at a property for 2 months. And I wouldn't have booked it to them if it was going to be less, but they were coming from overseas. They were over here from like Japan or something like that. And so they had the opportunity to go home a month early. So of course they're going to take off, right? You can't expect them to stay if they're going to go back to their country. But now it's like for this property specifically, it's hard for me to refill that vacancy. So I'm out like I think I was out like $3,000. They canceled their credit card. So like you couldn't be charged. And so we just disputed it with Airbnb and Airbnb's insurance policy paid me out. So I got $3,000 and then I relisted the property. And I think it actually booked within that time frame, set up making money. So so no horror stories. And what I would tell people that if they're scared of an Airbnb or that kind of stuff, most of that stuff's urban legends. And basically, if somebody ever does break something in your property, like think of this, each property is empty. There's no valuables there. The most expensive thing at most properties is what? The TV. Okay, someone breaks the TV and they kick a hole in the wall. Cool, TV's $300. My handyman can patch the wall and paint it for like $400. I'm gonna find the guests. I could even inflate the bill a little bit for time and effort of like me having to manage that. And now I'm going to make a profit off it. And how often is that going to happen? Well, for me, it's never happened, but let's say it happened like once. Okay. Once a year, you have like a $2,000 damage that you charge back to somebody. Plus you can add a little profit to it. There you go. Like, is that worth somebody like, getting all the upside of the monthly cash flow, assuming like, it's enough money for you that it's worthwhile. You're getting property appreciation. And then like Vince was talking about earlier, you get that huge cost segregation. So when you put all those numbers together, like what the total profit is on these properties, like it's pretty incredible. It's hard to measure dollar for dollar, but based on what I've seen like in the multifamily world, like for what your own return on your dollar for dollar would be like as an individual investor, it seems it could be comparable to investing in multifamily, which prior to short-term rentals, to me, from what I had seen through all my clients and the people that I've been around, like, I haven't been in mortgages for so long, multifamily seemed like the most profitable place to put your money. And then I started doing this and it's like, I think this is matching it. And
is it very active though? You're managing all these yourself? Do you have a VA? Yeah.
So what I did is, remember I told you I listened to this Airbnb course back in the day. Well, from day one, it just talked about you're going to have a VA. You're going to have an assistant.
Right.
And that's kind of my mentality anyways. Like in the mortgage world, like I have people that help me so you can kind of scale. So I was never going to be like the guy to like run the properties. I did it up to 3 properties just to learn. Yeah. And that was actually surprisingly easy. And then once you get to like 4 properties, it's like for sure I need to get the VA. And that was always the plan anyways.
Yep.
And again, the only reason I managed myself from the start is because I wanted to learn the ins and outs.
Right. Same.
So eventually I get a VA. They're overseas. So the cost of the VA, I want to say is like 5% of what I would pay if I used a property management company in the States.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because they're going to take an average of like 20 to 25%.
Yep.
And without going like in too much of the numbers, like my VA who's across the seas, I'm probably paying him like 5% of what I would pay.
Right.
By the way, this guy has a degree in computer science. He's been managing properties remotely for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. So like it's when people think of like a VA overseas, like they think if I'm going to pay someone $5 an hour, like that person can't be good. I can't trust my business to this person.
Sure.
And I think you guys have probably dealt with VAs. Mm-hmm. It's not the case at all. Over there, what I pay this guy over there, $5 an hour at about 30, 40 hours a week is the equivalent of like $100,000 to $120,000 a year here. So what quality of a person could you get in the United States for $100,000, $120,000 a year?
Right.
And to manage these properties, it's actually very easy for the guy. I mean, he's just dealing with like cleaners and handymen, and like most of the messaging online is automated. So it's like, honestly, he's actually way overpaid.
Probably.
But for what it cost me, it's not going to be a concern.
Yeah. And do you have like regular hours like listed on your Airbnb, like all your units? You're like, hey, reach out 10 to 8 p.m. and he's on schedule. Is it 24 hours?
It's basically 24 hours.
I like to get in the weeds because I was the manager for a long time.
Yeah, so obviously, like, I mean, a couple hours might go by where, like, there's no inquiries whatsoever or nothing that he actually needs to respond to. Right. So it's not that he has to work 30, 40 hours a week, my VA. It's that he has to be available from, like, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Right?
That makes sense.
And he understands that. So it's like, that might sound like a long time to kind of be on call, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, a day or two might go by where like he doesn't actually have to chime in. He's just kind of monitoring the messages.
Yep.
And if there is a unique message, he'll reply to it. And that's also very common, like overseas for someone that's in the VA area.
Gotcha.
Specifically in the Philippines, that's like a huge part of the economy or a huge part of the population there is like, they're all like VAs for other places in the world. So it's like my guy in the Philippines, Jovi, I think like the apartment complex he lives in, like half of like the apartment complex is up all night because they're all VAs.
Wow.
So it's not like I'm asking
coffee and nicotine all night.
It just feels like you're asking someone to do something that's kind of like tough, right? Like he's on the opposite time zone. It's 7 days a week, basically like for a 12-hour spread. Like that sounds
for the money, it's worth it.
It sounds like a crazy request, but actually like he was already doing that, and that's like that's a very common like job over there.
How'd you find your VA? Not to get too deep into the weeds, but it took me 3 tries to get like a good one. Yeah,
so I went to one of the websites where you can post for international jobs. I think I used Upwork.
Yeah, that's where I found. That's where we found. That's where we found our good one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I basically just posted the job request, and then I interviewed like 4 or 5 people, and like the first 2 were like laughable. Yeah. Like one of them was like, get this guy on a Zoom call, and it's like a kid like in bed with like a blanket on his shoulder, and he's kind of leaning against the wall like this with a headset on. And I remember like just feeling so awkward and thrown off that like I acted like I was losing connection on the internet, and I just hung up.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh, my bad. Oh, my
and then I emailed him, oh, hey, I'm having some Wi-Fi connections. That wasn't the best thing to do, but for some reason it just threw me off. And it's like over the seas, over country. But anyways, when I talked to this guy, like it was within like 10 minutes. I'm like, this is my guy.
Usually no really quick.
You know what it was is somehow it came up in conversation. I don't know if he saw it on my desk or if I saw it on his desk, but he had a Tony Robbins book.
Oh, nice.
Like in view. And I was like, so we started talking about that. He's like, oh, I'm into this, I'm into that. Yeah. And I'm like in my office, I'm like, I have the same book here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you do anything is how you do everything. So if he's already like trying to apply himself and improve himself, he's going to be taking that into your.
Yeah. And we've had our moments where I want to fire him, but it's like,
sure.
I have him plugged into 6 properties now across 3 states, all the cleaners, all the handymen.
Yeah.
All the details of every property, like where's this? Like put the furniture away, in November in Tahoe because the snow's gonna come and it'll freeze ice and crush it. Like to replace all of that for like the small things that I get mad at him about. I mean, we've talked about it before.
Yeah.
So it works out. And compared to the alternative, it's like I literally would be paying. Like I said, this guy cost me about 5% of what it would cost me to have a property management company in the States. Yep. And I've taken over 2 properties that were run by a property management company where like they're still running the property like as I'm buying it, and then I close and they're like talking to me because they want to take it over. And I go stay at the property and I literally see firsthand like the chairs are falling apart. Yeah. Like half the light bulbs like in a super fancy like dinner chandelier are missing.
Wow.
And I'm just like, you guys suck.
Yep. Already out.
And I get it. It's not their baby.
Yep.
It's not their baby. So I 100% would use a property management company if I couldn't find a VA.
Right.
But it was like, just because I came into this whole concept with the mindset of I'm going to get a VA, I'm going to try this first. And then if it doesn't work, I'll fall back on the property management companies. But
Yep.
The VA did work, and there we go.
And so you got lucky your first try. First guy you hired, same guy?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I
Not my case.
Yeah, I definitely got lucky. As far as time to manage these things, I mean, it's like technically me and him do a review call once a week for about 30 minutes.
Nice.
So that sounds like amazing for the amount of money that's coming in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like there's just kind of like, you're kind of always waiting for an unknown problem to happen. Like I've had ceilings collapse like in my garage, like in Tahoe.
Okay.
Because like the snow guy like wasn't clearing the right amount of snow like on the second floor.
Yeah.
And then ice builds up and then water's going into the house. Like I just had all kinds of crazy stuff happen where it's like 30 minutes a week sounds like, oh, how could that be stressful? But like it kind of is because you're kind of always on call for something because if something big happens to a property, like an AC goes out in Arizona where it's 120 degrees at night, that's like a 911 call for the guests. Well, then it's like I got my VA calling me at like 9 o'clock at night on a Friday.
Yep.
And I'm out on a date.
Yep.
But it's like, no, I have to take this call.
I've had many of those stories on this podcast where I'm like, it's like we went for a nice hike. There's a sunset. There's the ocean. We're having some nice food, glass of wine. I am so sorry. I have to take this call. This guest can't find the door.
Yeah.
Not a joke.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
So it doesn't happen that often, but I guess there's a degree of stress of just kind of waiting for the unknown to happen.
Yeah.
The unknown problem, or like, I don't know, like I've got two pools. I've got pools at two properties in Scottsdale where people are partying hard.
Right.
So I'm just waiting for the day when someone slips and hits their head and then tries to sue me.
Right. Yeah.
But I've got like, the short-term rental insurance in place, which is like totally beefed up. I've got the properties in LLCs. Those pay to my S Corp. So I have, layers to protect myself.
Yeah. In each property its own LLC?
Yeah, each property has its own LLC.
Oh, you're a savage.
Those pay into an S Corp, and then I pay myself out of the S Corp.
Right.
And then none of the money obviously like goes reverse in the opposite direction because now there's like a paper trail of what do you call it, commingling funds, stuff like that. If it ever came to that where I got nitpicked. And then so 30 minutes a week doesn't sound like much, but there is kind of like we said, there's that lingering kind of waiting for a problem to happen. And I think about that a lot because I was used to the traditional, like in the mortgage business, it's like, okay, like when I leave the office at like 5 or 6, it's like, yeah, I got a cell phone, I got a laptop, I could check in, but I don't have to, right? Yeah. It's like I can, whatever it is, it can wait to the next day.
Right.
Or if it's the weekend, it can wait till Monday, or this like can just kind of happen anytime.
Yep.
So, but it's
that's the only downside is you kind of have to be on a little bit. Yeah.
But they say no risk, no reward.
Sure.
And there's certain metrics that you could use to kind of minimize the stress of this. Like one of my buddies that I talk to a lot about business, he goes, Eric, he's like, what metric could you look at that would just kind of calm everything down? It's like, oh, it's obviously my Airbnb reviews, right? Like what's my average reviews? Because essentially that's your money. So it's like, as long as I'm at like a 4.6, 7 or 8, we've actually never been below 4.8. Then it's like, what's the problem, right? Because at the end of the day, if my reviews are good, the guests will keep booking.
Yep.
But then on the flip side, there's other times where like I go to check the security cameras and I see they've been off for 3 months. So I'm like,
oh wow,
yeah. And my VA is supposed to check that once a week.
Yeah.
So
That's why you have the meetings.
I keep making it clear to him, hey, listen, like it's not a problem until it is. The one time, like I don't know, somebody gets hurt or maybe a fight happens or police get involved because who knows what, like we're not there.
Yep.
So that footage is going to essentially save this entire investment. Because if it goes wrong, basically they could come after me for just that property, but then we'll lose the property, we'll lose that asset.
Yeah. What was he supposed to do specifically with the footage?
He's supposed to just log in to all of our Ring cameras, all of our Wi-Fi door locks, and just basically make sure that everything is functioning once a week.
Got it. That makes sense. Yeah.
Do you use Ring?
I do.
And Slice? What is it?
I use Ring for the cameras and I use Waze. The reason why it's broken up is because some of the properties already came with Ring. Otherwise, I would just do it all under one company to keep it simple.
Sure.
And then I don't use Sledge for the Wi-Fi door handles. I forget what I use, but it's all Wi-Fi. Obviously, so you can check like the battery levels and you can change door codes. You can kind of use that as a way to hold people accountable. Like for example, like when I first have a new handyman, I let them know like, hey, like this is your door code. And so we see when people check in and check out. So I'm making it clear, like if you give me a bill for 4 hours, I'm going to go online and look and see that you're only there for 2 hours.
Smart.
Just as a way, like I don't say it like that, but I say it in a way where it's like, hey, like we're watching.
Yep.
Because, again, like you're handling things remotely. So it's like you just kind of have to do stuff like this.
Exactly.
And the reality of it is I just gave him the same door code that everybody else has. He just doesn't know that.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
I hope he's not listening to us.
I mean, if he is, then I mean, put yourself in my shoes. What would you do? Everybody gets it,
So Eric, I want to go back to the timeline of your. So you bought the first house. So what are you thinking in terms of the next one? After you bought the first one, you're like, bro, this is going great. Is it 3 months, 6 months till you make your next move?
Yeah, no, it was like,
It's a week, wasn't it?
I don't know the exact timeline, but it was pretty quick where I'm looking at the next property in Scottsdale.
Yeah.
And then that price range, I think was, I was going to look at like 600-700, but then you start looking around and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I ended up buying it like 800, which at the time I thought was a lot. Mm-hmm. But during that process, this is kind of an important point that I remembered is that, because this is during like, I think this is like 2021, bidding wars are crazy now. Mm-hmm. This isn't like when you're hearing like, in the real estate world, it's like you hear there's like 20 offers on one house within a week, right? So you got to come super aggressive. So me being a lender, when I go and write offers on a property, it comes super strong because I'm my own lender. I speak the language, and I would come super aggressive on these offers, and I'd be shocked that like the listing agent wouldn't even call me back. And I'm like, wow. Oh my God, like I'm offering these super aggressive terms. I would make videos too. Like I did the Grant Cardone, where I make a video and I send it with my offer, and I'm like, I'm your buyer, I'm your guy, like I come super aggressive because
crickets.
Well, I know that's what the listing side people like that, right? If you're gonna say the property, crickets. It was amazing, wow. Right? So this one property I really want. Like, oh, 800 grand, like this is way, that's probably too much. Even my realtor there was like, I don't know about that. But the guy who owned the property, he already had it as a short-term rental, and he just didn't care. He's just like, my price or don't call me. Like he literally like wouldn't respond to anything. We had to like chase this guy down just to get him to like talk to us. And he's like, oh, that's my price, or I'll just wait. And so I'm like, oh man, that's like, that's 50 grand more than I wanted to spend. I was getting all hung up like on the purchase price. And then I really thought about it. I'm like, I'm only putting down, I think on that property I put down 10%, maybe more. But either way, I'm like, I'm only putting down 10%. The cash flow on this property is going to kill it. So whether I pay $750 or $800, like why do I care? Because that only changes my cash to close by $5,000. This property is going to pay me like $6,000 in the first month. So do I really want to lose this ATM, right? Do I really want to lose this cash cow over $5 grand out of my pocket? Because even if it's not worth $800 right now, I know it'll be worth $800 within 6 months or 12 months because I'm seeing the property values go up because I'm out there competing for the properties. So it really like drilled in my head, like don't get caught up on the purchase price. Like obviously like don't be irresponsible or do anything stupid.
Right.
But as a lender, I see people all the time like arguing over 5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand in price. And it's like, well, how does that change your actual cash to close? Not much. Yeah. But people get hung up on that. And me being like, a professional lender, I was getting hung up on that. Right. Because I'm like, 50 grand, but I'm like, no, I want that cash flow. Yeah. It's only $5,000. What's the difference, right? Yep. So I ended up buying that house at 800, thinking like maybe it was too high, and like within like I think 2 years, it appraised for 1.2 mil.
Wow, that's wild. Where was that?
So it's in Scottsdale, but it's right on the border of Arcadia, which is like a really fancy area.
Gotcha.
So that neighborhood specifically, like there's no listings. And even my realtor was like, man, like that was the one, man.
Nice.
That was the one you got. And so it's like, so looking back on it, it's like, was that the right choice? Obviously. But again, it wouldn't even have mattered if the property didn't go up in value because again, I'm buying the cash flow. Right. And for that location and for the way this house was set up, because this was a 5-bedroom house. Okay. So I'm like, if the 4-bedroom house did that well, 5 bedrooms, that's even more, that's more, that's more cash flow. Yep. And it's been a great property.
How has the 4 versus the 5 bedrooms been performing? Like just anecdotally speaking.
You know what? Like they actually probably make about the same money. It's comparable. Like it's not that big of a difference because you're kind of catering to the same amount of people anyways, right? Because like in a 4-bedroom house, you could have 2 people per bedroom. So that's 8. And you can put 2 people in the living room, so that's 10. Mm-hmm. And then if you really want to, you can be like, well, hey, we have blow-up beds if you guys are okay with that, if you want to accommodate 12, right? Mm-hmm. And so it hasn't been that much of a difference. The 5-bedroom one is a little bit more profitable, but not by much.
Not by much. Okay.
And again, that purchase price was $300,000 more than the other house. Wow. So I guess at the end of the day, if you broke it all down, like the first house was probably more profitable. But this house does great too. So like, sure. Well, and also this house is up way more in value, so it all works out.
Yeah, we were talking about 5 beds where we're investing just because it stands out. Yeah, there's just very few of them out there.
Yeah, and so I mean, that's what I would go for. Obviously, like if the price range worked for you, like the only reason I didn't buy a 5-bedroom the first time is because the first property is my first one. It's like I'm testing it, right? Right. And that's why the next one I was like, ooh, let's get 5 bedrooms, right? That'll be even more cash flow. And then when you go to other places like Tahoe, it's very hard to find anything. It's very hard to find any properties whatsoever. So you can't really be like that picky. Or obviously, in places like Scottsdale, there's going to be lots more inventory to choose from.
Gotcha.
So how did you have the money for the second one? Do you have enough money for the second one too?
Yeah, so I had a good amount of money saved up. As being a mortgage guy forever, like I'm actually kind of a frugal guy. Like I'll spend money on experiences, like traveling. Yeah. Same. But it's like I don't know, like up until I guess like maybe 1 or 2 cars ago, like I drove the same truck for 12 years.
Nice.
And, like I drove like a 2006 Ford F-150 all the way up to like 2018. I could have been driving a Range Rover.
Right.
But that doesn't really make me happy. If it makes people happy, great. But for me, it's like I want to save my money, money in the bank's peace of mind, and I want to make money with my money.
Yep.
I just was like saving it up to find like where do I want to put my money, right? And then also like because of all my clients, like as a mortgage guy, I see people's savings, I see how much they work, I see their overtime, I see their bonuses. Like I just see I have a really unique perspective into people's like financial profiles, maybe even more than a financial advisor, or if not equal to, because we get all their asset statements.
Yep.
Anyways, some of the successful clients I reach out to and I talk to and like basically like multifamily by far seemed like the best place to put your money. And again, I started that process. I did multifamily education for about like 3 years, took some courses, had like coaches. And then like, before I had enough like, I guess, intellect, or before I knew it well enough to actually go out there and start submitting offers on, $3-4 million buildings, this little opportunity popped up. And basically it was my buddy Bo Eckstein, if you're watching this, thank you. My buddy Bo, he's old school podcaster. So this is like, well, I guess this was, 5 years ago now, where he had, again, one of his guests had a short-term rental like course. The guy's name is Brian Page. He's actually like pretty famous. Like Grant Cardone's had him on a show. But anyways, my buddy Bill was like, "Hey, I know you were always interested in Airbnb." Because I just had this guy on my show and he gave me the free logins to his course.
Nice.
So he gave it to me, and then
That's awesome.
I listened to that and it's like, "Ooh, let's just put multifamily on hold because this is something I can do now."
Love it. And how'd that even come up as an opportunity? Like, was there already something in your mind? You asked him to get access to it, or?
So Bo's like one of my best friends, and he's also like a real estate investor guy. So we're always talking about stuff, and so we just he had heard me talk about it just through conversation.
Yep.
And so he just brought up being a good friend.
That's cool. Are you still like kind of holding out? Can do multifamily eventually, or just keep?
Yeah, I'd like to, because with multifamily you're gonna have preferably you would set it up to what you have like an in-house property manager, right? Like you have enough units so you can afford that, so it's all handled in-house, and then it's it's gonna be one of those things. Hopefully you can set it up and kind of walk away.
Right.
Not completely, but not as hands-on is Airbnb.
Right.
Also with Airbnb, like we know that like laws and regulations could change.
Yep.
Like I've had a lot of issues in Tahoe to where like I may have to sell a property that I don't want to, right? Like I may be getting forced to sell it.
Right.
And it makes me think, because like the properties do so well, it's like I necessarily like I could not do mortgages anymore and I'd be okay.
Right.
But I don't quite feel secure doing that, because even though Airbnb seems like it's here to stay, laws could change. Like who knows, right?
Yep.
Especially because also it kind of makes sense. Like if there was no regulation whatsoever, what if every house in every neighborhood like could be an Airbnb?
Sure.
It could get out of control.
Right.
I wouldn't want to live on a street. Would you want to live on a street with like half the block is like just people coming and going? I would
not.
Right. Even though I bought properties in neighborhoods, but like I don't make the rules, right?
Yep.
But because of that, I don't know. Maybe if I had 6 more properties, it would feel more secure, but there's still a degree of like, is this
still risk at the end of the day?
Is this forever?
The city could be like, nope, never mind.
Yeah.
Any day.
Yeah, but with multifamily, obviously that's forever.
Yes.
So I still plan on going down that path. I just got started with this, and it's kind of like it's going so well. It's like, let's just keep going it.
That's awesome.
Let's keep doing it. Also, I like the idea that, well, I don't have to manage anybody. I manage myself.
Yeah.
I don't have investors to answer to, right? Like investing in people's money, as you guys knows that's a lot of
a lot, dude.
It's a lot of responsibility.
Yep.
Where I see my end game is I want to invest money with my friends.
I love that.
I want to work with people that I enjoy spending time with.
Same.
Like as a mortgage guy, it's like I have to answer my phone, right? And like serve the public. Like I am their product or service,
right?
Which is fine. It's been great. But as I think about, number one, being able to retire, which I kind of am, but I'm not going to. But number two, like, what do I want to do long term? Airbnb is a little bit stressful. It's like, would I want to be all in on this long term? Maybe. But the thought of multifamily just sounds like nicer, and it sounds, again, like you can set it up. You have a property management team on site.
Yeah.
Kind of step back, manage the books from a distance. But what I like about multifamily is like I could take a big chunk of my money. I could, I probably have, I've got some friends that like they're along the same boat. They take a big chunk of their money, and now we just go buy like, some $10 million building, and that's our cash flow. And then we do it again. We do it again.
We might
now it's like
together.
So now it's for sure. So now it's like I'm number one. I'm not pitching to investors, right?
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily taking anybody's money that I'm responsible for. We all have our money in it, so we're all in the game together. So if something goes wrong, no one's upset. You're not upset with me. I'm not upset with you, right? Because we're all in the same game together. So I guess to me that seems kind of like the most enjoyable, least amount of stress, high cash flow, like rewarding, like lifestyle and business that you could set up.
Love that.
Yeah. So that's where I want to get.
Well, being the only one who owns multifamily in this room, I got into it during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Probably the worst garbage deal in the history of the world.
Really?
Not because it's losing money and we're going to lose all the money. Actually, we have fixed debt for 5 years. 4.75, whatever.
That's awesome for multifamily.
Yeah, it's in a C neighborhood in Lakeland, Florida.
Okay.
It's just the amount of work that we put in. It's like GP of like 10 people. I own like 2%. It's like nothing.
Yeah.
I've spent probably hundreds of hours, and I will probably get back $0 after 50 years.
Wow.
Like that's the return on my time. The amount of stuff I've learned is probably worth $1 million.
I was just gonna say, but the education.
Yeah,
There it is.
Priceless.
So if you show me a deal, I can immediately tell you are a fucking idiot or not. Like, as you're reading the deal, I'm already out.
Yeah, and that's priceless.
And then I get weekly reports. I get on the meetings, and I'm like, oh, this is what's going on. This is worse than Bakersfield. Like, It's like we can't. Like, I'm looking at the numbers. Like the multifamily people are like, oh, you could buy it and you can make money and stuff. What people don't understand is the cap rates float. They change differently based on market perception, right? Mm-hmm. So because of the interest rates went up, so we bought it at I think 5 or 6, and now it's like 6 or 7. Oh, we lost $1 million already. It's gone.
Right.
So now we're increasing all the NOIs, reducing expenses to break even.
Yeah.
Like we can't even get the money out, right? So it's like very, very interesting. But also you could get jacked up. Like we had Robert Martinez, you know him? Rockstar
real
Capital.
estate dude, like big, like millions.
No big deal. Lost $20 million investor capital. Gone.
Yeah.
We got a floating debt. Rate changed, doubled. And he was like, cool, gone. 20 million just wiped out.
Wow.
Real thing.
It's just like crazy. Like what?
That's the one thing. Stuff. Like we're constantly having meetings. Like we don't hang out and not talk real estate, like ever.
Yeah.
And anytime it comes up multifamily, it's like I'm just a little scared of that floating rate. That's it.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't think I said anywhere in this podcast that I thought multifamily was easy. I don't think it's easy. But I think it's all. But I think it's an incredible.
No, I agree.
It's an incredible opportunity to make money.
Oh, for sure.
If you can get the right property.
Yes.
Have the right partners.
We're in a good position now, all of us, not just us three, just people. Because, we saw what changing interest rates and environments does to multifamily, and people are like, oh, it's not just all rainbows,
Mm-hmm.
because of there's no 30-year fixed. There's nothing. If you get 10-year fixed, it's like rare when people do it. But the thing with you probably know this, you're a lender, right? A 10-year fixed has a huge prepay. You refinance the first year, you just lost 5 points. Sure. You have a $10 million loan, you have to kill yourself.
It's over. Risk and reward.
Right?
Yeah.
So then you want to lock it. Well, how long do you want to lock it? Oh, 5 years? Well, we can't, it's a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? Like prepay.
Yeah, the prepays.
So, or they're like, okay, you know what? We don't want any of this. Let's do a floating rate for 2 years, and now you're homeless.
And that's what your team wanted to do on this deal in Florida that you voted against?
Yeah, the people on my team are like smart. So we were all conservative, and we were like, let's do the 5-year fixed. And then it's 4.75 for 5 years, and we have another 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not bad, right?
So the rest of your investors that were pushing for the floating, they wanted the floating rate.
They're like, because there's a little bit better yield,
right? Yeah.
For like 1%.
Yeah.
It will be like 9 now, and we'll be dead.
So that's a cap on your feather in that scenario.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can kind of like see like how things change. And first, like, at that point, we were looking at buying multifamily because we could have bought like some bullshit 12 unit, 16 unit in Bakersfield. We had the money to do it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would have probably bought some loser 2-year, floating rate, and then we would have lost the house for sure. Yep. Instead, I didn't decide to just say, you know what, I'll pay 6%. I'll fix it for 30 years.
Yeah.
So
cheap money is so tempting.
I know.
Yes.
It's crazy. Grant Cardone is losing money on a deal.
Oh, yeah?
You know how he pays for it with all his other businesses that he makes money on.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's crazy. So it's just when you play big, you can win big, but you can also lose big. So people listening, they got to figure out like how you want to play that game.
Well, hey, like as you guys know, we all know, get a coach.
Yeah.
Get a coach and learn from their mistakes and avoid those financial pitfalls.
Yep. Yeah, if I could change anything, I don't like to be the guy who like has regrets, but if I could change our path in particular, the only thing I would have done is way more aggressively just like shelled out money, 10 grand, coach me. Like to the guy who like I can see his statements, so I see his results. Like, all right, I will pay you money, weekly call, tell me what's going on. Because we made a lot of blunders. We've done a decent job of like overcoming those, getting through those. But yeah, a lot of learning curves along the way. Because we started in Bakersfield, long-term, in the ghetto, and all the way to Nashville, fully furnished luxury rentals in 6 years. And basically almost being in escrow the whole time.
Well, as we know, like every one of those lessons and every one of those like hardships, like that was like the financial hardship path you had to take to get to where you want to be.
Yep.
And then you're going to use those lessons in the future to do big things.
Have you thought about investing in real estate and taking advantage of all of those benefits without any of the work? That is something that AnVi Invest not only provides, but has been providing since its inception. With friends and family, we have built an empire and a system of a wealth generating tool that is giving us and our friends and family that leverage in their life to create true wealth. Go to onviinvest.com for more to see if you qualify. And thanks for listening.
Yes, and we're already cash flowing on that a little because we're coaching a lot more. We're super confident with any coaching client we have. Like within seconds, you're just like, here's what you need. Have a good day. In 30 minutes, I'll change your life a week. And that's because we've just been hit in the face and made all these mistakes.
Yep.
Like the last guy, we've got a bunch of bruises somehow for clients. And I think we had turned down like maybe 6-7 deals or something like that.
I think you went into escrow in a few of them.
Yeah. And we were like, dude, you're going to get destroyed. That
Back
foundation, trust me, here's why. Because we had this X, Y, and Z
Were
over
those
here.
multifamily or SFR?
Just single families.
Yeah.
He has 2 properties. Young guy, is a very smart guy.
Yeah. Smart for hiring us for sure.
Because you can see what you can't, and that just comes with experience.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I would say, like for people listening, definitely coaching is worth your time if you can do it. But, for me, I don't really have any regrets because I didn't take any coaching and I went to a lot of those. I went to like 50 times more events than him.
Yeah.
They're always like, come to the back, it's $50,000. I'm like, you know what? Fuck off, guys. I don't care about this stuff because I don't want to spend $50,000 on a credit card to get your secrets about, Airbnb or something. So what ended up happening was I went really hard, like on all topics, right? So now I'm just like a insane person. Like it doesn't even make any sense. I'm just like always like roided out on all things real estate. So that has given us now a good opportunity of what is good and not. But also, with being like this also comes with drawbacks because I'll buy like some dumbass deal here and there. Yeah. And now we have to deal with it.
We had a couple of bad purchases. We're like, I should have seen that one coming. Lakeland.
You know what they say? The most expensive decision is no decision. So at least like you're in the game, right?
100%.
Like you got to take action and you got to be willing to take some loss.
Ultimately, I regret nothing, dude. Yeah. Like we've learned a lot. We've definitely come a long way, and now we're like way confident. Now we know what works. We know our niche. We know our thing, and it's getting better. And
I always tell people hey, if we sell everything, we'll have $1 million more than we had before, right? Even after all the decisions.
Sure. For each good problem to have.
Yeah, exactly. So
I've thought about selling all my properties before and just going all in on multifamily, like as a silent investor.
Nice.
When?
I'm not going to do it, but I've thought about it.
Right.
Because there's
once in a while when the headaches get to be like, 2-3 guests are like giving you.
Imagine if you gave it to one of those morons, syndicators, you'll be out.
Lost your money.
Right. Well, actually, so I'm a silent investor in a 250 unit property in Florida, and I think they bought it for like $52 million.
Nice.
And it's valued to be sold around like 64, 65, but obviously because of COVID and because of the debt increase.
What debt did they have?
I forget the details, but essentially like my quarterly payouts have basically been on hold for a year. Mm-hmm. Not going negative, and I know they'll pay me when the property sells and it comes back, but it just makes me think if I'd sold all my rental properties and just put all of it into like 1 or 2 of these deals,
you'll be done.
And that's what I was going to retire on. I would have had 0 income the last like year and a half.
Yep.
So that's another reason why I'm like,
maybe half. I mean, maybe take the money you're going to do for the next couple of years.
I'm going to keep the short-term rentals going, sure. And then,
Okay, I want to do this. This would be you're going to sleep for sure.
Yeah.
I want to explain how dire this is. So people listening, they're just like, like even you, smartest guy we know. And then you're like, if you did what you were going to do, you might not be in a bad spot. I'll explain why, right? So for people listening, so let's say you get into a syndication. Somebody's doing syndication, right? And he's a big guy. Everybody knows him, right? So at the peak, what were doing was they were putting like 20% down, right? And they call it bridge debt. Bridge debt means they'll give you a higher LTV. So instead of putting 40%, 50% like Kenny will do, McElroy, or Grant Cardone will do, they put 20%, right? So there's 20% equity. That means you borrowed like $2 million to buy a $10 million asset, right?
Okay.
and then you buy it at like 5 cap. Like that means you're expecting if you put $100, you get $5 return. That's the cap rate, because that's what everybody decided in the world that is based on that interest rate, right? Everybody's happy, they're doing stuff, and now they say, oh, I want to print $50 trillion and give it to Ukraine and Russia. Just fuck it. Let's see what happens, right? And then you print all this money, and then things change in the market, and then they say interest rates now 8%, right? So you locked it for 2 years at like 2%. Now interest rates 4%. It's quadruple. This already happened, right? You only put 20% down. So he sold all of his house, your mom's house, and he gave him $2 million to this one investor, right? And then the cap rate goes up 2 points, right? You just wiped out your equity. It's gone. It's just disappeared from the world. Oh. There is no $2 million. Bank is calling. It's like, fuck you. I'm foreclosing on the house. And the guy just leaves and he just lost all of his money. It's so easy to lose that money. Do you guys follow?
Yeah.
You guys follow, right?
Yeah.
And there's no kind of insurance or anything. Or
you could get a rate cap, but people didn't get a rate cap. A lot of people didn't get a rate cap.
What is a rate cap?
Rate cap is like they can say, okay, your interest rate is at 4%. Mm-hmm. Your interest rate will only go up 2%. It cannot go to 20%, right?
Sure.
But even then, they can only do so much.
Right.
And you can buy the rate caps too, right?
You can buy the rate caps.
Yeah.
It was cheap back then. Now it's like millions of dollars.
Yeah, I heard of that.
So now, so when you play these big boy games like hotels and multifamily and like, commercial real estate, I'm going to go buy a fucking Whole Foods and rent it out. And then Whole Foods decides I'm going to leave, and you don't have any NOI coming in. Your evaluation goes down, and then the first guy who's giving money is the LP, limited partner, right? You're putting in money. That money will get wiped out first. The last guy that gets wiped out is the dead guy. So the bank is like lending at 65 LTV. Yeah. He's the smart guy. He's waiting for the 35 down, and then he'll be like, fuck you, and he'll sell it to the next guy, and he'll keep the 65. So the 35 guy who's putting in money, he's playing the games like, oh, there is an upside, but you could lose all of it too. Yep. So that's the game. With our stuff, what we're doing is, we could get wiped out, but the interest is fixed and the debt is fixed. And in California, you can only increase taxes by 2%. So everything is fixed. As long as you can finance the debt, you can service the debt, you should be fine. Even then, that's why I try to get a lot of Fannie Freddie loans, because if I can make the payment, I can go on forbearance. I can do something like that. If I'm doing DSCR and doing all these other crazy shit, they could be like, no, sorry, bro, you got to pay or we're going to foreclose.
Yeah, they just call the note due versus
it's just
Freddie,
over.
got to work with you. Loan modifications. There's all kinds of stuff you can do to drag it out.
So we have 14 mortgages, and you want to guess how many of them are fixed 30 years?
Knowing you, all of them?
14 are fixed 30 years. And do you want to guess how much are Fannie Freddie?
I'm going to get you a t-shirt that says fixed debt only.
Do you want to guess how much are Fannie Freddie loans?
What?
Are out of those?
Oh, all of them?
13 are Fannie Freddie. I have one which is also fixed for 30 years at 6.75%.
Okay.
It does have a 3-to-1 prepay. So if you have to, so that's the only one we have.
I'm okay with ARM loans like 5, 7, or 10 years, but over
5 is reasonable.
Over the last few years, like they haven't priced very well, or they're not priced very well for like a second home or a rental property. Like they might be priced well for an owner occupied property, but for me, it's like I know that I'm probably going to refinance every couple of years, and typically like mortgage interest rates tend to be cyclical in about 7-year cycles. So if I can get like a 7-year or like a 10-year and it's cheaper, I'm comfortable with that because I know how it works.
But if you got a 5-year ARM at 2018 when we started, we are homeless right now. It's over. We would have locked it at 3%. It's 8%. You're done. It's over. Just go home.
I had some clients that were doing ARMs back in like 2006, 2007, like back in like the bad days, and but for them it actually worked out because by the time their loans became adjustable, the LIBOR had come down so much, the rates went from like 5, 4, and then like down to 2, and then they had 2 for a couple of years, and then like. So sometimes it does work out in your favor.
I just realized, Eric, you were a lender throughout all of 2008. How did that shake out for you?
That was wild, man. That's a crazy story. Well, basically, like I'd been in the business for only a couple of years, but that's when I really learned the lesson where like the things you own you. Like I just bought a house. I've got some credit card debt, but I'm doing great. And then literally overnight, like banks shut down. So it's not like I don't have a loan anymore. It's like literally like this product doesn't exist. So like your clients, it's just gone, right? So basically it was like overnight, like my income got cut in half, my bills did. So I was like just getting by for about a year. It was like that. And I just remember like just paying the credit cards and like, fuck, I'm never gonna get rid of these things. Mm-hmm. And then it's like once I paid them off, like just gone. Yep. That was a good lesson. But on the flip side,
to Dave Ramsey then.
No. I mean, I listened to kind of everything, but like at the same time, like I hadn't accumulated like a lot of assets back then because I was still young. So like it was manageable. Where a lot of other people like that wasn't the case for them. And they just had to like foreclose. Like I have buddies that had like 4 or 5 houses, had to let them all go. But kind of the flip side of that is once the market came back in 2009, it's been good ever since. And according to like active licenses, like mortgage licenses at the time, I remember a stat in 2010 was that 85% of licenses that were active in 2008 were now gone. So for me still being in the industry, I have 85% market share now.
Yep.
And so it's just been busy ever since. Actually, I've never been slow other than 2008. And then just over the last 2 or 3 years now since rates went up.
Since 2023. End of 2022.
Yeah, so in basically like in 23 years, I think I've only been slow like 4 of those years, which is pretty good.
Because you got started in the winter.
Yeah,
right?
And also the last 3 years for me was like a nice break. Because when I first started buying all these rental properties, that's also when rates were like in like the 2s. That's when everybody was breaking records.
You're working your butt off.
Yeah, so like I'm doing more loans than I've ever done before, but I'm also buying these properties, figuring it out kind of on the fly, traveling to the properties, like physically like being at the property, like doing stuff, dealing with handyman. Then I'm on my laptop. I've got more loans than I've ever done before. Yeah. And it was like property. It's just like, oh my God, I'm like exhausted. And like I remember like when I wrapped up the last one, it was in Tahoe, and I just got home from being in Tahoe for like a month, and I was just kind of like back in my office. I was like, oh, like it's done, it's set up, it's running, and then it's like literally overnight rates were like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I was like, my phone's not gonna ring. I remember I was walking down the street, like walking to lunch where my office was, and I was like, my phone's not gonna ring, and there's no reason to call a client. Like even for all the reasons you could talk about, oh, cash out refinances. Nah, nobody wants to hear me try to pitch them a 7% rate when rates just like 6 months ago were 3%.
Yeah,
and I was like, yes, because I'm burnt out. Needed that break. I need a break, and my timing to put all these investments in place couldn't be better because it's like, okay, cool, I don't need the mortgage income anymore. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was kind of like a nice little break, and then it was like, what do I want to do? I'm like, I want to move to SoCal, and here I am.
What prompted you to move to SoCal?
Wait, where were you before?
Northern California.
Oh, San Fran?
Yeah, like the East Bay area. The East Bay area is more of like suburbs, kind of like Sacramento. San Francisco is like the city, but yeah, Northern California. What prompted me to move down here is when I first had the idea to get into short-term rentals, just in my mind, I was like, I'm going to start in Scottsdale just because that's the first place I thought of. Then I'm going to do Tahoe for sure because I've always wanted to have a house in Tahoe, and that's where we go, back where I'm from. We drive to Tahoe and snowboard. So I was like, I want to have a house in the desert, I want to have a house in the mountains, I want to have a house by the beach.
Nice.
So then after like I did all those other properties, it's like, okay, let's look at SoCal. And then during that process of kind of like coming down here and checking it out, and I have one good friend that lives down here, so I'd stay at his house. It turned into like, you know what? Like I'm just gonna buy the property and I'm gonna go live there. I'm gonna live there, and just live in it. And if I don't like it, I'll go back to NorCal. Because at the same time, I love my hometown, but I kind of had this underlying feeling of like I gotta go. Like I gotta go somewhere because I've been in my hometown my whole life and I love it. Nothing negative about it, but it wasn't even like a logical thought. It was just like an intuition feeling. Like I gotta go somewhere. I gotta experience something different. So that kind of I moved down here like pretty quick within like a month or two of making that decision.
Nice.
All my hometown friends were like, what? You're leaving? Like it is a big deal, right?
That
I'm
is
leaving,
wild. How old were you?
42.
Oh yeah, that's a long time to do.
So that was just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But that's what made it easy. I find myself explaining like how I did it so quickly. And it's because, I came down here with like the flexibility of like, well, if I like it, I'll stay. If not, I'll go. If I had to like completely like commit.
You just came here a couple of years back?
Yeah, just 2 years ago.
I probably met him like just months after he moved here.
Wait, I'm confused. So the first property you bought was the Scottsdale? I thought you already had the East Side house.
Yeah, so the first short-term rental property I bought was Scottsdale.
So when did you buy the East Side Costa Mesa house?
Oh yeah. So I bought that 2 years ago.
Okay, so
yes. So the first, I bought that 2 years ago, and with the idea of like, well, it could be a short-term rental property, but I'm gonna go live there, and if I like it, I'll stay. If not,
so you bought the Scottsdale first, and then you bought another one, and then 2023 you bought your house then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was Scottsdale, Tahoe. Convert my Concord house, and then convert my Walnut Creek house, which is also the Bay Area, and then buy the house here. So now we're up to 7 houses, but I don't count the one down here as a short-term rental because that's my primary home.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, man. So you got a 6 + 1, 7 total.
Yeah.
And they're all single families?
Yep.
Nice.
One's a townhome, but basically,
And what's the other state you have? Arizona, California, and what?
Nevada.
What do you got? The Vegas?
Tahoe. So two
Tahoe, okay,
yeah,
okay.
one's on Nevada side, one's on California side.
I thought Tahoe was here in California.
It is, but it's well, South Lake Tahoe is like kind of like the more like touristy, like more like fun. I don't want to say funner, but it's the more touristy place. That's what the casinos are. It's literally right on the state line. So like when you go there, it's like you're in California and you walk to the casinos. Now you're in Nevada.
So did you get different tenant laws?
Not necessarily tenant laws, but like the short-term rental laws are different. They're both sides are both super anti, because basically the casinos put a lot of pressure to try to ban it.
Of course. Wow.
Because the casinos don't like the short-term
Yeah,
rentals.
they probably lobby.
Yep.
It's like surprisingly aggressive up there, like negatively towards short-term rentals. But if you can get a permit, if you know how to deal with it, this means you have less competition because the barrier to entry is really hard. So it makes the properties that much more profitable. So for example, like one of the properties I have up there, when I was kind of dialed into like what the city hall meetings were, how they were going down, what was happening, because they were trying to ban short-term rentals again. Like literally, the council and then like the local residents that have like their own coalition of lawyers are screaming at each other to the point where the meetings get shut down and everybody gets sent home and it gets put off like for a month later. And then the next one, screaming. Like that's how like fired up it gets up there over it.
And what is the meeting about? Like,
basically like the city's just trying to either shut down the short-term rentals altogether, or they try to like impose like just crazy restrictions that are just completely unreasonable. And then of course, there's a huge short-term rental market up there because I mean it is a vacation area.
Right.
yeah.
So the coalition or the locals that get together, like they're like a big strong group. They actually beat a lot of stuff the city was trying to do. So I donated money to them.
To the what? The city?
No, to the
because they're
the
trying
local coalition. Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, they're fighting the ban on Airbnb, and if
that makes
I could lose my permit and I lose that property.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Wow.
But when I heard those stories, I was like, ugh.
When you're running your numbers, are you having that contingency in mind where you're like, well, if it all went to shit and I had it unfurnished, I'd break even, or is that even a thought in your mind?
Like if I had to walk away from a property, or if I had to sell it.
Yeah, would you just sell it, or would you manage it as an unfurnished?
You know what? Long term, I wouldn't keep it as a. It's for me. It's not the best place for my money. So like the cash flow wouldn't like the properties would still cash flow, but for the amount of money like I have in the properties, I could go take that and buy a proproperty somewhere else where I could have a short term rental with no restrictions.
Yeah, makes sense.
So basically, I would just move my money. That's why my property here, I bought. My price range ended up being a lot higher than I thought it would be, right, as you're shopping.
Yeah,
and then it's like, okay, well, I'm going to live there, so I'll go a little bit bigger. And the house here, like, it would make some money, but, like, I wouldn't keep it as a short-term rental because essentially the cash flow is not worth the amount of money I have in the property. I could take that equity out of the property and go put it elsewhere and, do, like, 2 or 3 times much.
Makes sense.
More, yeah. Because it's just a high price point,
Yep.
But I live there, so that's a little bit different.
That's cool.
But that's kind of the fallback plan is if you ever have an issue with like, the city regulating on you, or if you get a permit pulled, a short-term rental permit, you could just flip it to a mid-term rental or a long-term rental, wait 6 months or a year and see like if like the city rules change.
Sure.
And then go back to it. So that is a plan B. And I've looked at that before. I thought I was going to have issues not getting a permit or getting a permit pulled.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, what can I do to keep this property?
Yep. Yeah, we do a lot of midterm. That's kind of our thing now.
Yeah.
Nice little in between. The cash flow's better. Looks good.
And it's easier. And people are spending more
Way.
money. So I'm assuming you're going to have like, better tenants. I midterm rent my Walnut Creek house, which was my previous primary home. So it's still like my baby. So like I care who goes there, right?
Right.
And as a midterm rental, it's, it's done really well. That property gets double what long-term rent is. Okay. So that's kind of like my formula for midterm rentals without having gone too far in it. But I kind of just assume like if you're in like if you're in a desirable area, I could probably assume that my midterm rent could be double what the long-term rent is.
Got it.
Yeah, we don't quite get double, but
and not everywhere. Like Walnut Creek is like a nice area.
we did get 50%, I think.
So
Yeah.
50% is like
40-50%
Yeah.
is what we get.
But I look at it as like if anybody has a rental property, it's like it's an ATM. Why not maximize all the cash out of it? So in my mind, I'm like, at a very minimum, why would you do anything other than a midterm rental?
Sure.
Because those typically have like most places I'm not aware of. Well, yeah, most places don't have any restrictions over 28 days or whatever. However you would define a short term rental, unless there's an HOA. But like typically, I think we're not looking in areas that have HOAs for that reason.
Exactly.
Because also the HOA could change, right?
Yep.
And now you have a problem. Even if the city allows short-term rentals,
Exactly.
the HOA could change. So like me personally, like I would avoid HOAs unless you're in a place where it's, it's common. Like Tahoe does have, entire, complexes where it is allowed and the HOA does allow it, even though The rest of the city doesn't allow it. There's specific areas that do it.
interesting.
Well, it makes sense because I mean it's a vacation area. That's a huge part of their economy and
That makes sense.
jobs and all that kind of stuff. So
They're probably getting a little cut of that as well. I'm assuming the HOA. Is that why they allow it?
it's just so common in the area, and especially for smaller units like that.
Oh, I see.
Also, like if the entire complex allows it, it's like no one really kind of gets upset because it's kind of like the norm of the
Sure.
area. So and you're in a ski town where like a lot of I mean the population is so transient. Even like a lot of the locals are like there for 6 months and they're gone for 6 months, and so yeah.
Wow. What a cool journey, man.
Yeah.
So you really started turning on the burners just a few years ago. 5 years ago.
It's kind of like once I found a concept that worked, I go like Grant Cardone, right? 10x.
You had
Go all
one
in.
house, your primary residence, years ago.
I had one house, and then 4 years later I had 7.
Wait, I thought you bought your first property at 26.
Yeah, but I didn't start buying rental properties until 2020.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just went.
Yeah, because I didn't want a regular rental property because I have clients with regular rental properties, and it's like, okay, this guy just put down 150 grand on I don't know a $600,000 house, because you have to put down 20% for rental,
Right.
And he's making $500 a month. Like
Yeah.
I can make more than $500 a month
Unfurnished
with 120 grand. Yeah, these are just long term rentals.
He's crushing it
yeah.
for that particular asset class.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? You probably like this. You're very similar to our boy Ryan.
Yeah.
Also a mortgage lender.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I tell him about the rental properties, he literally falls asleep while I'm talking. He's like, I could take a crap and I'll make more money than you did in the last year. And I'm like, it's true. Because it's not exciting, so he can't do it.
Yeah,
He would
yeah.
rather buy a car and throw it in the trash
Well, another
than do
thing,
the rental property.
well,
he can't do it.
Yeah.
Well, another thing
Just
too,
checks
it's
out.
like people in my industry, whether you're a realtor or lender, like we're used to just getting big paychecks.
Yeah,
right?
he's making
like we're not getting
a lot.
like a monthly, we're not getting like a weekly paycheck, but when we get paid, we get these big checks. So
Right.
it's like people in my industry tend to be bad with money, and they tend to just go blow it and buy a bunch of shit. And it's because like your appreciation for money is different by the way you get it.
Right.
I'm not like that, but like a large majority of
We know some of them.
So I can see how Ryan is like, $500.
You know
a
Ryan,
month,
right?
Like, have I met him?
He's got like a new car every couple months. That's
Okay.
actually not even an exaggeration.
Yeah. So anyways, I could see how he'd be like, that he might kind of fall asleep.
Yeah.
But he should open his eyes for midterm rentals,
Yeah.
multifamily, and short-term rentals.
Oh, we're in his ear all the time. I know Vince is.
He at least bought a house in La Habra or something.
Yeah.
He bought a house finally for himself.
Oh, nice. Good for him.
Yeah.
I'd love to meet him.
Yeah, I'll
cool guy.
introduce you to him next
I haven't
time.
seen him in a while.
I like to network with other mortgage people.
Yeah, he's cool. So what's next, man? Give us some insights about the economy and mortgage rates, man.
All right. So mortgage rates will come down 1% throughout 2025.
By the way, what is the day's date and
Okay. So today is
year?
March 4th, is it?
March 4th,
Yeah, March 4th.
2025.
So during 2025, rates will come down about 1%, and then during 2026, they'll come down another 1%. The new lows will be about 5%, give or take.
Wow.
The reason we know this with certainty is that the biggest driver of mortgage rates is inflation. If you pull up a chart on that shows inflation in 30-year mortgages going back to like the 60s, whenever they started recording it, they don't necessarily mirror each other, but they follow each other pretty closely because obviously inflation is going to erode the value of a mortgage that the bank is selling. Right, the interest rate isn't worth as much. And so at the peak of inflation, I think we were at about like 9%.
Yeah.
It was probably like 2 years ago now.
CPI.
And so if you look at a graph, you'd see inflation do this, and then right behind it, 30-year fixed mortgages do this. Now inflation is down to around like what 2.6.
3.
Yeah, like depending on what metrics you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And so mortgage rates will follow behind that. It's just not tit for tat, dollar for dollar, because it has to filter through the economy, and there's other factors in play. But essentially, like that logic has like proven true like since this stuff has been recorded like since like the 60s or the 50s. So it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
Some of the top 5 authorities you could talk about, like Zillow or Redfin, and some of the other like economic housing economists that have like the best track records for forecasting. All of them say for 2025 and basically for 2026, all of them are within the range that I just talked about.
Gotcha.
Another stat that I'll leave everybody with that's to me it's pretty relevant is Pulsonomics and Zillow. They do a survey every year where they take 100 of the top housing economists and they survey them what their home value appreciation forecast is going to be over the next 5 years. And of those 100, they take the median, right? Like what's the average of all their forecasts, and it's 21% over the next 5 years.
That's for all the U.S. average?
All the U.S., yeah.
What is 21%?
21% appreciation nationwide for
For
the
the
next 5 years.
Next 5 years.
Yeah.
So that's
Now,
4%
obviously,
a year.
Yeah,
right?
so obviously every
That's
market,
about normal.
obviously every market can fluctuate a little bit.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
out of all the things you could talk about, what kind of trumps everything as far as why are home values still doing well when rates are at 7-8%? It's because there's simply limited inventory.
Yeah. That's
The number of household formations, which is, basically like someone gets married, someone moves out of their house, two people get divorced, now they both need a house. That's a household formation. The number of household formation demand right now, it's like 1.9 million a year, and the amount of new homes that are coming available is 1.2. And then you have a population that's growing. You have a workforce of 157 million people, and every week on average, there's about 600,000 to 700,000 listings available. So it's just supply and demand.
That's wild.
Yeah. And again, like how could home prices, I think until in 2023 when rates were at 8%, the national average appreciation was 7%. So home prices went up 7% in a year when rates were at 8%.
It's about building.
How is that possible?
More supply.
Supply and demand, right? Yep. So for everybody that's listening, the simplest way to think of this is that if there's only 100 Taylor Swift tickets and everybody wants to go, what's the price of those Taylor Swift tickets going to do?
Yep.
That's it.
Skyrocket. Yeah.
So what's your assets under management, like 4 or 5 mil?
All the properties I own are they're between like 6 and 7 million.
Yeah. So guys, pop quiz, Drew is going to answer. He said it's going up by 20% over the next 4 years. So what will be his assets under management in the next 5 years?
I know we can do math right top of our head.
In 5 years?
Yes, 5 years.
So 20% of 6 million?
8 million. All right. 20% of 6 is
2, right? 7.2.
Oh no, it's 2.25.
But if it's 7 million, it will be 8.4. If it is what 7 million.
Okay.
It's awesome.
So guys,
right
the
I can't beat the engineer at math.
that's not why
He always sets you up that way. He knows the answer.
no, but I gave you a layup, guys. Come on, it's 20%.
I like it.
You do 10% and times 2. That's how you do it. But the reason I brought it up is, if Eric does nothing and he just goes to sleep for 5 years, he wakes up, he will have a check for $1.4 million thanks to the U.S. economy.
Correct.
God bless America.
Yep. And that's what we
That's
lecture
crazy.
everybody when we're doing our meetups and stuff. Like all my friends, which I still can't help myself.
Yeah.
I have 2 drinks. I'm like, what are you doing? Like you haven't. I've been doing this for 6 years, bro. Get in the game. You won't be able to be my friend in 5 years. It won't make sense.
And I'm just smoking behind him. I'm like, I don't care about you.
He's like, losers.
But you got to get more people in the cash flow game because you don't want to be sitting on the beach by yourself.
Dude, that's what I'm
You're
saying.
retired early.
No,
That's
seriously.
No fun.
I'll find new people.
You
No,
need
seriously.
some buddies to be there with you.
No, seriously. I got a lot of friends who have just been like, just get a condo, something, dude, because I'm just going to be here and you're going to still be here and I'm just not going to have anything to say to you.
I tell all my clients, I go, just grab land and do well.
Yeah.
Just grab land and hold on to it and you'll do well.
Sure.
I got a bunch of charts I can share with you guys later, but going back to like the 1920s, basically out of the last 94 years, homes have appreciated like 89 of the 94 years. So there was only 5 years where they actually went negative. So it's like, would you bet money on those odds?
Great bet.
And then if you kept the property for 10 years, it's never been negative.
Yep.
Yeah, if you kept any property, even 2008,
Yep.
you'd never lost money.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's the thing to talk about too. It's like, okay, like you're only going to take a loss if you sell a house at a downturn. So don't sell it. And if you buy a house that you can afford, you shouldn't have this issue. And because of all the shady mortgages went away, and I know the shady mortgages because I was in the industry back then.
Right.
Like every loan these days, it's all fixed. All the income is completely documented. It's like, I mean, we pretty much take like a DNA sample before you get a mortgage, right? So it's like everybody is qualified. People can afford their mortgages. So even regardless of what house prices would do, it's like everybody can afford their mortgages. When they bought the house, and most people's income over time goes up, their property is appreciating. So if you really think about, like, for home prices to crash, people would have to sell their houses at a discount. If you have, I don't know, $20,000 in equity, why would you walk away from your house? You would just sell it and take your money. And if you bought a house, 3 or 4 months ago, you probably have $20,000 in equity. What about everybody who bought a house over the last, 13 years when home prices have, like, I think almost tripled since then? Why would anybody ever sell their house at a discount? They would sell it and walk away. So there's no distressed sales that would take place. I mean, there's always going to be like, some oddities. Mm-hmm. But in general, it's like, okay, Eric, if there's a recession moment, everybody loses their jobs, cool. They would just sell their house, take their $100,000 of equity and go rent or whatever. But they wouldn't sell it at a discount, would you?
Nope.
I lose my job tomorrow and I can't afford my house, like why would I sell it at a discount?
You know, we listed a couple of properties we have in Orange County last year, and we had offers, and they were about what we paid for, but I didn't sell them. I was just like, nah, and then it's gone up by another $100,000 since then.
Yeah, hold on. Also, here's another stat for you guys since we're talking about this kind of stuff is, so the National Association of Realtors, like their data, because they track this, for every 1% drop in mortgage rates, it qualifies 5 million more buyers. That doesn't mean that it's 5 million people are actually going to come buy a house, but it qualifies 5 million more buyers. So right now, if we already have super limited inventory and rates are going to come down 1% over the next year, and then another 1% the next year, you know what that's going to do? It's going to bring in more buyers, and that's going to support home prices even more. So high rates are actually your friend. Because if you buy the house now, you'll get it at a cheaper price. Yep. There's less competition because a lot of people are scared to buy because of high rates. And then you just refinance later.
Yep.
So
he runs math all the time when we have meetings. We're like, oh, we're dying here. Yes, but if it goes down 1%, all the problems go away cash flow wise.
Yeah, 1%. We have over 7 million in loans.
Oh yes, that is.
So what's the math, Drew? 1%. How much is it per year?
It's going to be $7
times
$7, 70,000.
That's a big savings.
70,000 a year.
Yeah.
The game changer for us.
We just needed to go 1% from today.
Yep. So I hope you're right. That's what we're trying to say.
Yeah. I can send you some charts. I'm just sharing data, by the way. None of this is my personal opinion.
Sure. Yeah.
I probably consume like at least 30 minutes to an hour of like data every day.
Nice.
Because I love this stuff. I was an economics major and I live it. So like this literally like affects my paychecks.
Yes.
And like I'm talking to clients, it's like I don't want to give anybody bad advice.
Right.
What if I talk to someone buying a house? Well, first off, I don't talk to anybody anything. It's like if they want my opinion, I'll give it to them.
Yeah.
But if someone goes and buys a house and I help them do it, and then I don't know, something really bad happens and they lose it and take a financial loss, like I don't want that on my conscience.
Yep.
I've been doing loans for so long. It's like the loans always come. So it's like I never influence anybody to do anything they don't want to do. It's like I'm here to support people and just share information. What I really say is my job is to educate people. I educate people on what their options are, what the economy is doing, what rates are doing, and if they're comfortable with that and they agree and they want to buy a house, like great. If not, hey, no problem. Call me. Call me whenever the time's right for you. But
so if someone was listening, last question for you. I know we kept you long enough. They're like, I listened to Eric and I am more confused now than I was before. He said so much information. Now they have so much information. You know, when there's too much information, they don't make decision, right?
Yep.
So what can you tell people in this time to get into the market or the next deal? What would you advise them?
Well, the first thing that I would do is you need to put numbers behind everything so that it looks real, right?
Okay.
So number one is they want to get pre-approved to see what they can qualify for. Because at the end of the day, like what I like to tell my clients to make it very simple, what really matters is this. Hey, Eric, I like that house in the corner. What check do I have to write to buy it? And what check do I have to write every month to live in it? That's really what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. If you're comfortable with the down payment and you're comfortable with the monthly payment, that's it. Yep. So a lot of people don't know what they can qualify for, or like I saw a stat the other day where it's something like it's like 60 or 70% of like first-time home buyers think they have to have a 20% down payment to buy a house. Mm-hmm. You don't. You only need 3% down, which is like nothing. And a lot of times there's first-time home buyer programs where you can buy with no money.
And if you don't have 3% down, don't buy a fucking house. Go get a better job.
That's actually why I don't promote any of the first-time or the down payment assistance programs. Because everybody who calls me, if you don't have 3% down, the rest of your financial picture probably doesn't look very good.
Probably not going to be a good time for
So
you.
I don't really, I kind of stay with this. I mean, I can do this to help people when it comes around, but
I mean, you need 15 grand to buy a $500,000 house and you don't have it, you shouldn't buy the house.
Correct.
And that's exactly what I see in people's profiles. Like if someone calls me and they want down payment assistance, it's like, cool, let me just, look at the rest. Credit's crap, job history's crap, blah, 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 blah. So anyways, what I would tell people that are listening to this is don't make a decision. Just, it doesn't cost anything to get pre-approved. It's free. If anything, like I'm giving you my time for free and, probably a lot of valuable information in the process, which I'm happy to do. But whoever it is, like, whoever your lender is, just go out and get pre-approved. Just see what the numbers look like. Because a lot of times it's better than what you think. Or what I tell my clients is like, the biggest pain point people have when they call me, if they don't own a house, is they think they should, but they're not sure. Am I wasting money on rent? People are telling me I am, but are rates going to go up? Is the house going to crash? Like they have all these unanswered questions. Yeah. And that's their pain point is they just want to know what to do next. So I tell them, hey, look, the time we spend together, it's going to benefit you because two things are going to happen. Either A, we're going to confirm, that you can qualify for what you want to get, or B, will confirm that, hey, these numbers don't work for you. So now you can continue renting and you can feel good about it.
Yep.
And pain solved. So that's it. You walk away. You walk away with an action plan for your housing for moving forward, whether it's to rent or whether it's to buy. But it's when you're in limbo is when you have negative feelings or stress associated with it. So get pre-approved. Look at the numbers. It's going to be very simple. You're going to be comfortable with your down payment and your monthly payment, or you're not. Now you know where to go. Check it off your mental to-do list and go about your life.
So how do people contact you?
You can email me at eric@lawsonlending.com. And I think you guys will probably put that in the show notes.
We'll put it in the show notes.
And that's really the best way to get in touch with me. Just shoot me an email.
Yeah. Drew, you have any final questions?
How did you get so sexy?
You know what?
Answer that.
I hang out with sexy guys like you, and you guys make me keep my game up.
That's
I gotta keep the hair clean cut.
I keep them sharp.
I gotta wear the collar. I need to go shopping with you, man. Every time I hang out with you, you got the sport coat going on.
Yeah, I like to pretend.
I should probably step up my game a little bit at this point in my life.
No, man, leave some for us.
Yeah, come on, bro.
You know what? There's enough fish in the sea for everybody, right?
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, it's been a pleasure, bro. We met randomly, and I remember bonding instantly because you and I have a lot of the same headaches and gripes. At that time, I was really deep in managing like all the Airbnbs, which I think was like maybe 12 or something at the time.
There's been times in my life where I've wanted to kill myself. But
Yes.
but then I look at the cash and I go, oh, okay, can't walk away from this.
Yeah, for me, it was great because I got obsessed and then was deep in it, doing everything, all the message, custom, all me. But I started small. It's like one little tiny unit, and then this, and then this. And then by the third property,
Which is right behind you. That's where he started.
Actually, right here.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm losing my mind at this point. I'm like, dude, it's just so much. And like, I'd already like built another business and done all the customer service and hired that out previously.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I can't do this anymore, dude. So
Overwhelmed.
2 years of that plus building 9 Airbnbs in like 13 months.
Man.
Yeah.
When do you sleep at night,
Dude,
sir?
yeah. And then I remember I just was like, hey, Vince, I need to go. And I went to Mexico for 5 weeks. I just like, I needed to step out. I was like, bro, I'm dying right now.
Yeah, rest and recover, recharge the batteries.
We're
right?
lucky now. We got a good thing going. We got a great team. Shout out, to our team. And it's been going great and just gets better. And then that helps me to stay in my lane and do what I do best, which is make money in a different thing and just contribute that to the management here.
That's awesome.
And then Vince just stays cracked out on,
He's
energy
basically
drinks.
doing work a couple of girls are doing on the team.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nicole and Jenny. But, we pay them, it's not a lot of money, but it'll cost us 40, 50 grand a year. So basically he has to spend, 6 hours a day to make, to save us 50 grand a year, right? So now we're covering the 50 grand.
Yeah.
And then now he can go and make more than 50. Now, what he does best is say hi at Walmart, then it's garbage. He needs to come back and save us the 50 grand. Luckily for me, he could teach guitar and run a school, and he could make maybe 50, 100, 150, 200.
Sure.
Anything. So then it's a win. So that's what people need to know. Like a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm going to hire 5 VAs. I'm like, what do you do for work? Oh, I make $8 an hour. I'm like, shut the fuck up and go and learn Airbnb.
Yeah.
You have nothing going on.
Yep.
But if you're making $50 an hour, $100 an hour, then you shouldn't. You should try to get out of it.
It's a harder trade-off for time, but
Yeah.
But if you can, essentially set it up and automate it or delegate it, right? You do that. What do they call it? The 90-day burn, right? Work your ass off, grind, and then once you can set up and let it go.
Yep.
Yeah.
The 90-day burn is what is it, like 90% of the rocket's fuel is burnt just
Right.
leaving the
Get out there
atmosphere.
and
Take off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a Tony Robbins quote.
They just use it to steer.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, the biggest advice I can give anybody is to just like really think about like where your heart lies, like, and where therefore you can put more time and become world class at one thing to give more value, which is really where money comes from, and just go hard and just be the best at it. Period. Whatever that is. Sewing, I don't care. Figure it out. Your thing. Go super hard and then get smart, save money, start thinking about assets as soon as you can. And just know where your lane is there. Is that money only? Is it management? Do you have people skills? And then just delegate or partner with everyone else. I've been very lucky in partnering with this guy. He runs the math. I run the management stuff and the people, and I got the spreadsheet. I like all that stuff. I like building all that out.
Yeah.
But the management day to day was like,
No, we shifted his thing to, he's going to bankroll the company now.
Yes.
That's going to be his new, what is it? We need to come up with a new.
Andrew Daddy Moneybags.
From, what's your CTO? No, what was your fucking thing? Chief what? Operations to CFO.
Yes.
Chief Financial Officer.
Oh, there you go. I like that.
But
I just collect the checks.
Things are going good. We should definitely talk about doing a deal
So your
eventually.
t-shirt's going to say CFO. Yours is going to say fixed debt only.
Correct.
That's what I'm getting you guys for
I've been
Christmas.
talking about making t-shirts for years, bro. He'll just say the funniest stuff that's like kind of on point. I'm like, I got to make a t-shirt of that. Like, that's an AnVi shirt, bro.
Fixed debt or go fuck yourself.
We'll keep it PG.
I don't mean to swear on your podcast, but you swore
No,
twice already.
I meant on the t-shirt, not on the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
That's
I think
cool, man.
that's all I
Awesome.
got. Reach out to Eric if you need some loans, and reach out to us if you want some coaching on Airbnb. And
If you want to see
investing.
some nerdy housing data charts that I referenced,
Yes.
I can show you the data so you know that it's.
I remember the first time I met you got a Rogan thing, and that you're like just a beefcake muscle guy, like super fun party guy, and then you'll just like you'll spout off a bunch of data. I remember the first time you did, I was like, wait a minute, hold on, like, hey, hold on, because like you come across as just like this big fun party guy, but you're smart as shit, dude, and I love that.
I appreciate that. Well, there's a time and a place too, right? So
Exactly,
it's like
man. You do a good job of balancing. It's like, all right, you blow off steam, we have fun, but you like when you work, bro. So you got a great thing going, bro. And I'm
Work
looking forward
hard,
to seeing
work
you.
hard, play hard.
Looking forward to seeing you win in the next like couple years. See where you're going. See
I
where
look
we're
forward
going.
to us pulling some big chunks of money out of our residential portfolios at some point and going and buying a building.
I love that.
I mean, we could sell something. And come up with some cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can raise too.
See what happens.
But last thing I would say is, rather than trying to save all your friends, I'm not talking to Drew only.
He's right.
I would just say, like for me, I would rather find a new friend like Eric, because I don't have to train him
Way
to be
better
like a cool
use
guy.
of the time.
You're already cool. I could just hang out with you, right?
He's
I don't
already
have
making
time
moves.
to go make a loser Eric into a cool Eric.
I appreciate that.
I'm already old.
I try to be low maintenance, so
that's what I like.
Give back.
I just show up. Everybody's
My
cool.
friends.
I'm
My
like,
favorite version of Eric is loser Eric, though. That's my
I'm
guy,
out.
dude. That's my guy.
we'll give one day of the week. You could be a loser.
One day of the week, Sundays, we get to be a loser.
I'll nerd out with Vinny and then I'll rock out with you later. That way
yes.
everybody's happy.
Everyone's winning.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
All
it's
right,
a
guys.
pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks, guys.
I don't know about you, but I definitely like to see 5-star reviews on any service or any product before I purchase. Please take a second to leave us a 5-star review, whether you're listening to it on Apple, iTunes, or Spotify, or whatever platform. Take a second, goes a long way, helps us a lot to grow the channel, and thanks for listening.